Seniors locked in their rooms at a Curtis retirement home.
That's pretty fundamental and probably the most basic of the concerns.
The home's general manager put on leave after doorknobs were removed, preventing residents from being able to get out of their rooms. We've got the latest on the investigation that even the home's operator is calling disturbing.
I can't wrap my head around what that must be like for the parents.
And the 14-year-old girl shot in the head this morning is expected to survive. Why some neighbors say they're reliving another tragedy that happened just 3 months ago at the same apartment building.
So sweeping out bad luck, bringing in good luck is important, especially this year with COVID.
And a creative take on an age-old tradition, how people are coming together separately this Lunar New Year. Good evening, I'm Chris Glover. We begin tonight at a Curtis retirement home. White Cliff Terrace is now the scene of an investigation after it was discovered door handles had been removed from some residents' suites. The home telling CBC Toronto tonight, even during the COVID pandemic, there is no excuse to lock residents in their rooms. As Dahlia Ashry reports, the general manager has already been put on leave over the incident.
Inside this Clarington retirement home, the home operators now confirmed to CBC Toronto some residents were locked in their rooms after door handles were removed. People who also live in the building are left reeling.
I was shocked, a little bit frustrated and disturbed.
We've agreed to conceal the resident's name for fear of reprisal from staff at Curtis's White Cliff Terrace. But he says people with dementia live on the floor where the door handles were removed and are already protected.
They keep them on the one floor. They can't leave that floor by the elevator. They have to set in a code.
CUPE represents some staff who work at the home. The union says its members told them someone tested positive on that floor, but could not confirm when. White Cliff Terrace is one of 18 Ontario retirement homes run by Verve Senior Living. Its parent company says it's launched an investigation. In a statement, Diversicare Canada says, as soon as we became aware of the incident, all residents' door handles were immediately reinstalled. The general manager was immediately placed on leave. Durham Region's website shows the home was in outbreak on January 15th, but it was declared over on February 4th. And the resident we spoke to said even amid the outbreak, he's always felt safe there.
We were told to stay in our rooms. They were feeding us in our rooms, bringing our meals to our rooms. Just recently, we're back eating in the dining room. They just kept us all separated.
In a statement, Ontario's Minister of Seniors says this kind of action is completely unacceptable and will not be tolerated. The ministry also said the Retirement Home Regulatory Authority is conducting an investigation. The local mayor, who has friends who live in the building, says it's unsettling that residents would be trapped.
If one of the residents needed to get out of their room, they wouldn't be able to do it. I mean, that's pretty fundamental and probably the most basic of the concerns.
The mayor says fire officials and the local health unit has also been investigating. Dahlia Ashry, CBC News, Toronto.
Now to coverage of the pandemic, and today the Ford government releasing details of its plan to lift stay-at-home orders for 27 additional public health regions. And while Toronto, York, Peel and Parry Sound remain under lockdown, some health experts caution reopening too quickly could be disastrous. Ali Chiasson with that story.
By this coming Tuesday, most of the province graduates to the color-coded restrictions framework. Gray is lockdown. Just Niagara's public health unit is there. Most regions will move into the red control zone, including Durham, Halton, and Windsor-Essex. Ottawa is among the regions entering the orange restrict zone. Lightening up to yellow is Peterborough and Grey Bruce County. And 2 more districts in southeastern Ontario move to the green zone. North Bay, Parry Sound District, Toronto, York, and Peel region will remain under the stay-at-home order until at least February 22nd. The plan has drawn criticism from some in the medical community.
Regional approach, we think it is the right thing to do, but you need to prohibit movement from one zone to another.
Others say the direction the province is going ignores the X factor of the highly transmissible variants.
So we're at a crossroads in Ontario, and I'm very concerned about the path that Dr. Williams is choosing to take.
Dr. Michael Warner says there's still a long way to go before we ease restrictions.
Let's get school reopened. Let's do it safely. Let's get paid sick leave for our essential workers. Let's vaccinate all the vulnerable members of our society, especially the frail elderly. Then let's reassess, let's evaluate, let's look at the data. Then we can more confidently reopen the economy.
The Premier defended the reopening plan briefly at a photo op today.
Right now, when we're opening up cautiously, it's not a wide open, rah, 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 let's go party. Where there's a lot of areas, Toronto still in lockdown gray, Peel still in lockdown in gray, York still in lockdown. It's up to us to avoid that third wave. It can be done.
That's a change in tone from yesterday's provincial COVID briefing when TVO reporter John McGrath asked health officials.
You say that sticking with the stay-home order will help, but the stay-at-home order is ending almost everywhere in Ontario on Tuesday. You say that RT needs to be below 0.7, and we have never actually achieved that. Am I missing something here, or is this presentation actually predicting a disaster?
No, I don't think you're missing anything.
There is obviously a concern as the variant starts taking over. There's more transmission, there's more infections.
Infectious disease specialist Dr. Zain Chagla says if this is the model the province is going with,
as things open up, the trigger to close things up again, to move back into lockdown again, really does need to be very, very low.
Ali Chiasson, CBC News, Toronto.
After announcing all long-term care residents who wanted COVID shots had gotten them earlier this week and then backtracking on that yesterday, the province is now saying by the end of today that will have happened. And now the focus of the vaccine waiting game shifts to retirement home residents. Lorenda Redekop spoke with some of their families.
Hello.
A reason to smile today for Sydney Ashmore. He lives at Vision Nursing Home in Sarnia.
You just got your vaccine, didn't you, Dad? Yes. Yeah, it's an elation. It's a heartfelt sigh of relief. I mean, I almost want to cry, and I'm not a cry person, knowing that now he's at least somewhat protected from this horrible virus.
She was appalled yesterday morning to hear the government's message that all long-term care residents already had their first dose. The government later corrected that.
How would you feel if somebody said you'd been vaccinated or your parents had been vaccinated and you know that not to be true? Absolutely not to be true.
The children of Betty Gottlieb, who's 96, don't know when her turn will come.
We feel like it's falling through the cracks.
She still lives independently in a senior's condo and is in phase 2 for vaccinations. She has moderate dementia and the family pays for extra help.
We're all very concerned that her, health is declining, her, capabilities are declining, and we'd love to have her vaccinated to make her, so that we know she's safer, and then maybe we'd be able to see her.
If we're there, we can chat with her, and she knows it. She can feel the love, but she can't really feel it over the phone. She just wants to get off the phone quickly, right?
The province says phase 2 could begin as early as March, but it includes 8.5 million people. It says it's working with local public health units to prioritize within that list.
96% of deaths so far in Ontario are in people over 65. So we have to make sure that we get the shots in the right arms moving ahead and make sure that we get this population vaccinated as soon as possible.
Debbie Krakowski has a message for the province going forward.
Get your act together from the distribution standpoint, because it has been an absolute disaster up until now. I just fear the province is not prepared to deal with that kind of volume of vaccine on its way.
Lorenda Redekop, CBC News, Toronto.
Police are investigating 3 separate shootings in our city tonight. Let's start with the most recent. A man is in life-threatening condition after a shooting in Etobicoke. Police were called to the Westway and Martin Grove Road at around 7:40 for reports of multiple gunshots. They found the man at the scene suffering from gunshot wounds. He was rushed to the hospital. 2 male suspects wearing dark clothing and masks were seen fleeing the area in a vehicle. Now to the latest on the 14-year-old girl who was shot in the head in a North York apartment building this morning. New tonight, her family releasing a statement. In it, they write, "Our focus is on our daughter. We ask that you keep her in your prayers and are kindly requesting privacy." And while the family comes to grips with the fact that their daughter is struggling in the hospital, police say she is expected to survive. But as Greg Ross reports, investigators are still trying to determine what happened.
She's expected to survive, and for that we are grateful.
Toronto Police Staff Superintendent Pauline Gray with that update on the 14-year-old girl who was shot in the head early this morning in an apartment at 25 Stong Court. With the teen in hospital struggling for her life, Gray says police are now trying to piece together what happened.
We are looking for several people who left the apartment.
Gray says a number of people who were in the apartment at the time of the shooting fled the scene. She says at this point they're not calling anyone a suspect, but says it's important for those who know what happened to come forward.
In fact, if it is an accidental shooting and the people that are involved are listening to me, do yourselves a favor, get your parents and seek counsel and come on in and tell your side of the story.
It was sobering news for residents who woke up to police cars in front of their building.
A 14-year-old? That's like, I can't even, like my daughter's 20. I can't wrap my head around what that must be like for the parents.
This is not the first time residents of this building have been faced with gun violence. In November, there was a gunfight right here in the parking lot of the building, and it cost an innocent boy his life. A stray bullet from this shooting that police say was gang-related killed a 12-year-old boy who was walking on the other side of the street with his mother.
This neighborhood is scary. It has been for quite some time. And we're all going through enough right now with, COVID and lockdown and everything else that's going on. I don't think we really need, this kind of violence and this kind of nonsense.
When you see these types of tragedies over and over, young people being affected as they are, it's disturbing.
Police wouldn't say if they've identified any of the other people who were in the apartment this morning when the 14-year-old girl was shot, but they did say they believe at least one of them was an adult. Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
And another shooting early this morning in North York. It happened at Songwood Drive just before 5. Police say a man in his early 20s, was outside of his vehicle when two male suspects approached him and shot over 20 rounds. The man was struck at least twice and was rushed to the hospital with critical injuries. No suspect description has been released. The victims of the Danforth shooting have cleared their first legal hurdle in a proposed class action lawsuit against the manufacturer of the gun used by the killer. An Ontario judge dismissed a motion to toss the case by Smith & Wesson, the maker of the handgun that was used in the shooting rampage on July 22nd, 2018. The suit was launched by two people who were injured that night, along with their parents, on behalf of all the victims. 18-year-old Reese Fallon and 10-year-old Juliana Kozis were killed in the shooting. The shooter, Faisal Hussein, killed himself. Now to systemic racism in the Toronto District School Board. A first-of-its-kind human rights report examining school complaints outlined what it called serious racism problems within the board, especially when it comes to anti-Black racism. Farah Morelli looks at the new data and its driven call to action.
It's one of the most diverse school boards in the entire country. And for the first time, it's released a report that illustrates what racism might look like inside these walls.
We now, for the first time, are more intentionally and systematically tracking incidents of racism and hate.
The TDSB started collecting the data in 2018. What it found, the board continues to have what it calls a serious racism problem. It found issues related to race are most frequent grounds for complaints received by its Human Rights Office. When it comes to hate incidents, most reported had to do with race. When it comes to those targeted, the vast majority of reports were related to anti-Black racism.
To see a report from the TDSB is it's inspiring.
Kiri Daniel says while she's not surprised by the report's findings, she welcomes the move to start looking at the numbers.
Data collection is one of the areas that organizations, community advocates, Black community advocates have been calling for many decades. It's an equalizer.
For too long, some Black parents say they've been forced to confront the reality of racism on their own.
Having to have that conversation with my son at 7 saying, listen, you're not going to be able to get in trouble the same way as your classmates. You just aren't. You know, your skin color is going to make you a target.
Tanya Hales welcomes the report, but wants to see action now.
You think about how many thousands of children had to suffer before the board paid attention and started to collect these statistics. So yes, I'm glad that they exist, but now you have to do so much work and speed this thing up to catch up.
The TDSB says it's listening.
There's an urgency around this. People are tired of waiting. People are tired of waiting. So whatever our response is going to be, it has to be balanced between addressing the types of issues that you discussed just now in a fair, equitable, and transparent way, but also working towards the long-term solutions.
Solutions that don't just spark change, but instill confidence in a community, too. Farah Morali, CBC News, Toronto.
It's the start of the Lunar New Year, the year of the ox. But this year, the community is, of course, celebrating a little differently. We'll show you how coming up. Plus, Nick's got a preview of your weekend forecast.
Well, there's no end in sight to the cold weather, and more snow is on the way. Your full forecast after the break.
Just checking with our webcam shot outside, and yup, it is still freezing cold. Wind chills down into the -20s tonight. Oof, bundle up. And Toronto, of course, remains under an extreme cold weather alert. So it is dangerously cold, and you need to be careful out there. But it's not just the cold that we will need to contend with soon. A pile of snow is coming our way. Nick Cernkovich is tracking all of it for us. Nick.
Hi, Chris. Well, no end in sight to the cold weather as temperatures dip into the -teens, wind chills to the -20s tonight, and that continues for the next few days. We've also got snow to talk about as well. There's a look at your weather headlines, which, by the way, look very similar to what you would have seen yesterday. Temperatures this afternoon only peaking out at about -9 degrees with the winds, though still feeling like about -13, 14 through the afternoon hours. And as we head into the overnight, we've got these watches that are in effect across areas around Hamilton and Burlington, and this with the potential for up to 20 centimeters of snow, at least locally, with lake effect there. Now, you can see that just kind of being picked up on the model here as we head toward tomorrow morning. Few flurries otherwise across the GTA. As we head through the afternoon hours, though, we're looking at a weak system that's going to push through. That's going to bring with it generally about 2 to potentially 5 centimeters of snow for the Greater Toronto area, especially as we head toward the afternoon hours tomorrow. But again, the heaviest amounts of snow falling out toward Hamilton, Burlington region. By Sunday morning, looking at mainly cloudy skies, a few lingering flurries, but for the most part, it should stay dry on Sunday. And then into Monday, we've got yet another system, Monday into Tuesday. That one could bring about 5 to 10 centimeters of snowfall. For this one here, like I said, about 2 to 5 centimeters of snow with heavier amounts out toward the west end of the GTA. As we look toward southwestern Ontario, look for snowfall tonight. About 2 to 4 centimeters falling tonight into tomorrow, but we're starting to see that even through the overnight as flurries. Temperatures around -9, -10, wind chills to about -17. Tomorrow, a little bit more in the way of snowfall. Again, about 2 to 4 centimeters of snow in southwestern Ontario. Temperatures close to -5. Wind chills still taking us into the minus double digits for tomorrow's. Wind gusts are up to about 40 kilometers per hour. For the Golden Horseshoe, we're looking at temperatures tonight anywhere from about -12 to -13, -14. A little bit warmer down in St. Catharines. There's that snow squall that I was talking about. Anywhere from about Stony Creek out toward Hamilton and Burlington. That's where we're watching for the heaviest amounts of snow tonight. Then tomorrow, a broad sort of 2 to 4, 2 to 5 centimeters of snow across the region. Temperatures at -8 degrees. Wind chills tomorrow, though, still making it feel like about -15, and that's at their highest. Morning wind chill, -21. Long-range forecast, a little bit of relief in temperatures, if you can call it that. But the next weather maker we're watching is Monday into Tuesday. That one, the chance for about 5 to 10 centimeters of snow. Chris.
All right, we will be ready for that. Thanks, Nick.
The weather is brought to you by Trane, the most reliable heating and cooling brand. We test, so it runs. It's hard to stop a train.
Welcome back. Finally tonight, something positive to focus on and celebrate. Today is the start of the Lunar New Year, and the Year of the Ox is upon us. Good thing, too, because the ox signifies strength and unwavering determination. True to that theme, people in the Greater Toronto Area are finding new and creative ways to celebrate even amid the pandemic. Jessica Ng has the story.
The stage is set for the Year of the Ox.
Ox is signifies strength, hard work, methodical, unwavering determinations.
Alan Lamb says the organization normally puts on a full slate of events to celebrate the Lunar New Year. This year, it's partnered with 4 other Chinese associations from coast to coast to present a virtual show Sunday. The organization is also delivering New Year meals to seniors because Lamb says food is central to the celebrations.
Now, for people that are not familiar with Chinese New Year customs, how much of it is built around the experience of sharing food and sharing these culinary experiences together?
I would say about 100% of it. It is the main focal point of Chinese New Year, really that idea of celebrating with family over delicious meals.
Jeanette Liu says during the pandemic, her and her sister Joanna started bottling and selling Hakka sauces from her family restaurant. They're part of a limited edition meal kit that celebrates pandemic-born innovation within Toronto's Asian community.
There's a lot of symbolisms in food, especially for Chinese New Year. I feel like everything is symbolic to prosperity, health, good fortune, and also food is where everyone kind of gathers around with.
Colin Lee owns Hong Shing on Dundas West. He says the first few months of lockdown were some of the hardest the business has seen, doing only 40 to 50% of usual sales. Inside the New Year food box is his Red Pocket beer.
That we used the ingredients of goji berry, ginseng, and aged mandarin peel, which all these 3 ingredients are usually used in soups, which is the first course of every Lunar New Year dinner.
Lee says he hopes this helps the Chinese community maintain tradition during an unconventional year.
Sweeping out bad luck, bringing in good luck is important, especially this year with COVID.
So, happy Lunar New Year.
I would say 牛年安康, 牛年安康, meaning I wish them healthy in the Year of Ox.
And Gong Hei Fa Choi, which means wishing you good fortune and prosperity. While the boxes contain products from several downtown restaurants, they can only be purchased online through the website for Hong Shing. Jessica Ng, CBC News, Toronto.
Happy Lunar New Year to everybody that is celebrating. A holiday that is all about food is definitely something that I can get behind. I hope you all have a safe night. And that is our show for you tonight and for the week. Remember, you can get caught up on our website anytime. Head to cbc.ca/Toronto. And Maribel Tarouk has you covered tomorrow night at 6 p.m. And I'll see you back here on Monday. Have a great weekend, everyone, and stay warm. Good night.